What's up, guys? Got Jake Edenfield this week from Andover, Kansas, just outside of Wichita. Profound Home Inspections. A ton of great content in this one. It took me a while to edit it because there was so much information packed in here. And he's just got a great success story. He's got so many great tips, and he's an open book, very transparent, and goes into detail into things he's done to be well over, I think, 700 or 800 inspections, only in like 2.5 years since being in the business full time. So a really cool story, great backstory, great tips in it for anyone within their first couple years or any solo inspectors, really. I think so much of what you hear on the pod and what's worked for inspectors that are on the come up and in their first couple years works well for anybody at any point in their career. And especially in a time like now, I think doubling down either on the basics or going back to fundamentals is a real key right now in terms of agent retention and new agent acquisition. So I encourage everyone to go back to the drawing board and think from first principles as much as you can and take some of these tips and be open to them, because there's so much great knowledge being shared on the pod lately. I know I say this about every episode recently that it's a banger, and people that bring it and really bring with and are open and come with great tips. So I hope you enjoy the episode. And again, I'm gonna ask you guys this every time, our agreement for you to share the pod and get it out there to other inspectors in the industry to see if we can keep this going, get more guests on here, and continue making great content for you guys. So thanks for listening, and let's jump in. Let's dive right into kind of your story, because I'm curious. I see you've been with us a couple years, hundreds and hundreds of inspections, and so you've got a good business going. So let's just tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and
Sure, man. Yeah,
yeah.
my name's Jake Edenfield. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. You know, it's crazy that you asked me that because my whole background, I didn't know anything about how a house. I mean, literally nothing. And I'll give you a quick rundown. My most of my professional career, I was in the beer business. I worked for a local distributor here in Wichita, Kansas. It's called House of Schwan, but we were a Budweiser distributor,
Okay.
and I was this. They called me a team lead, but everybody would understand that as a sales manager. So
Okay.
my job, I had anywhere from 8 to 12 guys that I taught how to sell beer, and I know that doesn't it sounds easy, but there's always certain things that you got to do. And um, I never. My wife's a real estate agent. She has been for 20 years,
Okay.
and so during my time at House of Schwan, I started drinking more. I mean, it was just, and to make a long story short, I separated from that company and I got into a couple other businesses. And I was the sales manager for a one of those businesses. I was a sales manager for a local foundation company.
Mhm.
They're out of Nebraska. They're called Thrasher Foundation. They're kind of known in the Midwest. And so I was in charge of the salesmen and the maintenance people for the state of Kansas. Well, my drinking continued to get heavier. And 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, I had to put it down, man. I mean, I sat it down. I haven't had a sip in over 4.5 years. And I woke up, and I started working for a Caterpillar dealer here in town called Foley. And I made great money, had good connections. I just didn't have a purpose. I didn't feel it in my heart at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
you know, I looked into home inspections and for whatever reason, appraisals. And,
Okay.
my wife, I saw how happy it made her at the end of the day, getting to help somebody with their home. And when I was with Thrasher, I got to help somebody with their foundation. And it is stuck with me because it's a big investment. I mean, this is where you live, laugh, learn, love, I mean, it's your home, man. So anyway, I figured I didn't want to do the appraisal because they don't get to talk to many people, at least in my area. They go in, they take pictures in their
You
house.
get out.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, man. So I chose home inspection. I didn't know anything about home inspection. I
So
mean,
what year was that? What year was that? 20.
2020 is when I decided it. I gave my notice in 2021. And
Okay.
so in 2021, I think it was March of 2021, I took the NHIE through ASHI
Mhm.
and passed, went on vacation with the family to Florida, did a little Destin action, and then came back and decided, well, everything in a book. Now what do you do? So I reached out. At that point, I was certified with ASHI, if you will. I was a inspector, but not a certified inspector, because with ASHI, you got to do, I think it's 250 paid inspections before they give you that check mark. But I did InterNACHI and I was certified with them. So I called some local inspectors and I asked if I could ride with, and there was a couple that said yes. And I did about, let's just say 40 or 50 ride withs before I released myself to say, okay, I think you're ready to cut yourself from the nipple, if you will.
And you did that on your own. So that wasn't
I did.
mandatory in the state of
No,
Kansas. You just said, I think this is a good thing to do.
I do.
Okay.
I just, you can read as much as you want, Kevin. And we all know, I mean, everything's in a book is, it's black and white, but in reality, there's so much more to learning about what a home is and the way that it performs. And so I did in June of 2021, I cut myself off the nipple, if you will, and it's been a go ever since. It's been a go.
What was that? Let's go back to that moment, because new inspectors or people that are part-time, I think, love hearing
Mhm.
the deeper feelings and emotions around, I am quitting a W-2 job, probably that pays well,
Yeah.
or a non-guaranteed future here.
Yeah.
What was some of that decision making like? And with your wife, especially, also like not probably a W-2, relies on
Mhm.
closings, and
Mhm.
I know what that life is like. And so, yeah, talk us through, kind of
Man,
leading up to June.
when she decided to become a realtor, I was at House of Schwan and I was making good money and I had the 401k and the insurance. And, I told her, do what makes you happy, sweetie. I mean, if this is what you want, of course, at the beginning, as we all know, business doesn't just fall in your lap. I mean, you have to
It
go out and
doesn't?
you got to go out and hustle. And she, she grew. I mean, she grew, and I watched her from being a nobody to a top performer in our area. And when I decided to do this, she knew with my alcoholism, I was making a change in life. And she said, if this is what makes you happy, then go do it. And,
Mm,
I left a six-figure job, but I was determined. I was hungry. It's like, let's go out and do things, And so, after my ride with, I did some things that I don't know if home inspectors do this kind of thing, but I was certified with InterNACHI. I made business calls to different real estate agencies. I
mhm,
did a lot of, I would record myself on like a 20-second text message,
mhm.
and I would send that to realtors all around the
Oh,
city, just introducing myself, just saying, if you're needed, you can give me a call. Here's my number. Um, you know, I believe every market's like this, but there's an association, a realtor association, and you
sure.
get on there and you got everybody's info.
Yeah,
You know,
you can find it. Yeah.
you can find it. So I sent out small little video clips of myself, and then every time I got an inspection, after completion, I would send a handwritten thank you card with a $5 Starbucks gift card. Every one of them, every single one. And I would follow up with an email through Spectora,
Mhm.
obviously.
Yeah.
And I think that caught on a little bit. A lot of people were like, I mean, it's a cup of coffee. It's not much, but it was something. And I think people enjoy handwritten notes.
Oh, it's
I
insane. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
an insane differentiator, right? Because who takes the
it,
time to do that other than someone who gives a shit?
right, for sure. And that's what my mindset at that time was like. I mean, the only way that you're going to do, I wasn't, no, I'm not a contractor. I mean, I didn't have a background. So how do they trust me? And so to do that, I had to get in front of them. I had to get in front of people. I showed a lot of empathy. I mean, I'm a sales guy at heart. So I had that background, but the technical side I wasn't in. I didn't know it.
Sure.
So, and it feels like it worked out well. And I still learn something to this day, Kevin, as you know, for sure, man.
I love hearing these stories because I'm hearing them more and more. And I think it's
Yeah.
becoming more acceptable and common to say the sales and empathy side are
Yeah.
almost equally, if not more important. And some of the technical guys out there won't like this, but it connecting with people can be more important than hey, I know exactly what brand your water heater is and what they've done over the last 20 years.
Right, for sure. And I think that put me at a little, I'm not going to say an advantage because Kevin, there, I don't think you'll ever stop learning in this business. And we'll talk about this throughout today, but I got tons of mentors and I surround myself with people smarter than me. That's my goal. And if I don't know, I tell them I don't know and I'm going to find out, and I think that sometimes the mindset of a home inspector, they want to know everything and it's impossible. You can't know everything. So um, I did open houses. I would go to open houses with a little goodie bag like everybody else does. And
What was in the goodie bag? I loved little details.
nothing special. I would go to a local cookie place and I would throw a homemade, a homemade cookie and a bottle of water in there, a business card, and I
Cookies are
didn't
special to me. So if I
for
got that,
sure.
I love cookies. Thank you.
And I had them do my logo on it, on the
Oh,
cookie, on the
okay.
sugar cookie. It was just a profound home inspections logo.
That's special. That's different.
It
That's
was.
different.
I mean,
That's different. I like
it
that.
was different, but I wouldn't sell them. When I was into the home at the open house, that's their open house. I'm coming as a visitor. I look. I'm just shooting the shit with you. I
Right.
just want to talk. Who are you? How long you been doing this? If you ever have a question, call me. I'm available. I'm not trying to beat the next guy out because everybody's got their favorite. So
Right.
it worked. I mean, it's over the first year. I mean, I think that I met a lot, and I will say, having my wife as an agent probably helped a little bit, but it has, believe it or not, there are agents that don't want to use me because I'm putting money into her pocket. Does that
Sure.
make sense a little
Totally.
bit?
Yeah, I think we had someone on who one or two that have spouses in the business, and yeah, they said there's just some that are gonna, have their preconceived notions about that. Write that off. Whatever.
I do, and her, you know, she does she rarely gives out my name, but when it's asked, because I'm huge on Google, 5 reviews and all that, but when it's asked, she makes them sign a disclaimer stating that this is my husband and on the sale of this home he's gonna profit from this. It's to get their understanding, and it's, I, for lack of a better term, legal, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
And
We
most
have that.
people probably don't care at the
They
end of the day.
don't. They don't. And
Yeah.
I would never treat any of her inspections different than I would
Yeah.
anybody else. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the local realtor association, I did something cool at one time right at the beginning is I made contact with an electrician, a plumber, a foundation guy, HVAC person. And I, at the local realtor association, I rented out their room and we had a lunch and learn and we all spoke and we talked, and there was so many realtors that showed up that wanted to learn, probably 40 at that time that showed up. We just did a social blast and we came in and each of us talked about what they would see. We taught them things they can see in a pre-inspection walk, or a pre-listing walkthrough,
Yeah.
a Federal Pacific panel. And so we taught them things. It wasn't real in depth, but I got great feedback about that for
Really.
sure.
That's
Yeah,
great. Did
yeah.
did that idea just come organically to you, or had you heard it from someone?
I don't believe, I'm sure that other people have done that and it wasn't just my thinking, but just Kevin being in the background of sales, you know how to make
True.
people happy, and it's all about, in my eyes, it's all about teaching somebody something. It's not about me. It's not about the other, the HVAC. It's about how can you help them in their everyday business.
And I love that as a core philosophy, and I hammer this home anytime someone says it on the pod because it's kind of human nature to be like, I need business, so therefore I'm going to tell you that I do
Right.
this. But the way you
Right.
referenced how you handled open houses is powerful because if they whiff any sense of over salesy
Yeah,
or desperation, it just you're wasting your time because they might be like, I'm never going to use this guy. So
for
you
sure.
you took the approach of like, hey, I'm just here to connect with you as a human.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. It just, shoot the shit just naturally. If they ask, well, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Then we can go deep into that if that's wanted. But I always try to keep it about the client or the agent. You know, the longer this goes being in home inspection, I'm very detailed in what I do. And I'm getting hired more by clients and less by agents. I mean, you kind of see a turn. I got great agents that I work with, but there are some, and every other inspector can vouch for this. There are realtors that they're in it for the money, and I choose not to work with you, and I'm okay with not working with you. That's perfectly fine. You do your thing, I do mine, right?
Right.
So, trying to think of anything else that I did that was kind of, like I talked about Google.
Yeah, you hammered reviews. It sounds like you went in on reviews early, right? Because like
Hard.
I was looking at your website, and for one, I love your little caricature, I guess you could
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
So everyone should check that out, profoundhis.com. It's a really well done kind of like
Yeah.
cartoony looking logo.
I did steal that idea from Casey Bartley. I will
Oh,
tell you that.
100%. Yeah.
He I'll give you a little background. So when I first I didn't, after I passed this ASHI and I was working on my certification and I went through InterNACHI, I didn't know which one to go with. And my wife said, everybody in our area is ASHI, ASHI, ASHI. You got to do ASHI. Well, come to find out that wasn't the truth. I mean, nobody's really just asked. So I love InterNACHI's their education. I think it's top notch. I love their organization. Um, I think I think there's a little twist from I think people are going away from ASHI a little bit and kind of going towards InterNACHI. That's just my humble personal opinion.
Yeah.
The So anyway, social media, and when I was very first starting, I wanted to do a website because believe it or not, the old school guys and or gals in my area, their websites are nothing. And I have a 19-year-old son and he Googles I mean, if he wants to know, it's a Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I hired a guy that Casey knew out of Tennessee because I put it out there on social and Casey direct messaged me, didn't know Casey at all. And he said, hey, there's a gentleman, and I won't throw out his name. He said, give him a call. Anyway, he did my first website. And I thanked Casey. And then Casey and I started talking about a template, with Spectora. And of course, I bought it, and it's helped me out tremendously. Casey's template is awesome. But him and I became friends. I mean, I flew down to Tennessee. I spent some time with him. We've got a pretty good connection. But anyway, since then, Rodaline has redone my website with Spectora, and I got to give her props, man. She's awesome to work with. Very, very well. Yeah. So anyway, back to the website. I think that's where the digital is where the world's going. I mean, period. And it has been, but you've got to have a social presence and a digital presence, I believe, in our era. So,
yeah. So how many inspections have you done all time? Do you know about, just like give or take?
In the 2 years, I want to say 800, right around 800.
Okay. Y'all, you've got 387 Google reviews. That's an insane take rate for reviews. So like you're doing something really well with your automated emails and asking. You ask multiple times, I guess, and you
I do. And I try not to overdo it. If I feel something at the table when we're going over a review, I might say, hey, most of my business comes from, Google. And if you don't mind, would you throw one down? And usually I get a yes. And once somebody verbally says yes, they almost feel like they have to do it.
Ooh, good sales. That's a little sales tweak technique, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
When you're getting a digital ask, it's a race, and well, I'll never see him again.
Right.
But I do ask the day after. I send another one 24 hours after, and I send another one 3 days after, and that's it. I'm done. A lot of local inspectors, God, I talk a lot, Kevin. So tell me to shut up whenever you need to. But
No, we need this. We need this insight because you're crushing it. You're destroying, the competition, and your lead looks like it's only getting bigger. So,
well, the guys. I started a group, so I'll rewind a little bit. When I decided ASHI, there was a local chapter. There was a local ASHI chapter, and if any of them ever watch this, I'm sorry for, giving you my honest opinion, but the meeting was shit. It was some older old school guys getting together and having a salad, and there wasn't any learning. I wasn't learning anything, and I thought, well, I could be 2 years, or I could spend 2 hours at home and I could learn a lot more than what I'm getting right here. And so somehow I became president, and I tried. And Kevin, I couldn't get anybody to come to this local cafeteria that we had. So long story short, I folded and I said, I'm starting my own group. And I invited everybody from, I don't care if you were Internachi, I don't care if you're Ash, I don't care who you are. We're going to get together and we're going to learn. And so we did. We've got about 3 or 4 meetings behind us. We meet every other month. It's not a weekly or monthly thing. And a lot of them in our first meeting just said, how do you get so many reviews? And my honest answer is, it's my report, period. It's detailed, and I educate. Is it long? It is. I take tons of pictures. I love the way that Spectora allows you to put a video in, a picture in. I want to empower people to be better homeowners and to teach them something during an inspection. And that's my bottom line. I don't think it's my good looks by any means, because I'm ugly as can be, but it's the whole kit and caboodle, but it's the education on the report for sure. Yeah. They feel like, I've had many tell me that and I know other inspectors, this is my opinion, but they just say, I've had 4 inspections and it's never been like this. I get a PDF with 4 pages and there's some check marks and that's it. And it's like, well, things are changing, home inspections are changing. So yeah, man.
I love that approach, and it sets the bar higher and higher. It allows our industry to raise prices to get you guys what you're worth with what you're educating people with, and the tens of thousands of dollars in savings typically that can happen from inspection. So let's prove that value, and the prices will follow. And I think everyone's in favor of higher prices in our industry because of the value you guys bring. It's undeniable. I'd say that to a homeowner to their face, to say, like, you're getting a smoking deal if you're only paying $400 for this.
Oh, and I tell them that too, because I am the highest priced in our area.
Good for
you. I've only been doing it 2 years. And
wow,
going back to business, there are people that look at that and they wonder, why is he so much more expensive? Well, once they see your sample report and then they dive in, there's more value in $100. And I'm talking 50, $100. It's not, it's not life or death here, but you get what you pay for in our industry. And if you want to hire the guy that's an hour and, takes 1 hour to get the whole thing done and it's $50 cheaper, that's on you,
You're a perfect example. And answer me this. So, like, you're a mix of rural and city, right? Because just outside of Wichita, do you hit a little bit of both, or is it more like
I'm outside of Wichita. I'm in Andover, Kansas, which is, it's connected. Wichita is about, I want to say 600,000 people.
Okay.
With the rural areas, you got bigger, cities around it. Maybe you're talking 700,000-800,000. I'm guessing here, so don't hold me to it.
Yep.
But yeah, most of my business is within Wichita. The only thing that hurts me on Google, and maybe I'm venting a little, is my home is in Andover, so Google sees it as I'm not in Wichita, and so I don't come up when you Google home inspectors in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not right at the top, but that's okay. I'm working on ways to figure that out.
I was going to say, let's talk offline. You will get there. And I looked at the organic rankings prior to jumping on, and you're like 4th or 5th. So you're creeping, like you're working your way into the big city. And it's a good case study on, if you live outside of the metro area, don't try to game it and get a PO box or, whatever. Just keep hammering the reviews. So
yeah. And that's what I learned that too, Kevin. And I will say that I didn't do a PO box, but I will admit, maybe I shouldn't, that I did try to use a Wichita address.
Sure.
And my something in the back of my head kept saying, if this somehow comes to light, they can yank you. And so I just backed off and I said, look, I'm just doing my house, and I live here if you need proof, so and that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Smart. I ask that from the standpoint of, you've built an amazing business in not a huge city by any stretch of the imagination, and you're a shining example of the sea change of retirements that are coming. You mentioned kind of the Yashi guys who don't really care or invest, and they're not
Yeah.
innovating. Let's just be honest. A lot of them are just sailing off into retirement.
Yeah,
But I still believe there's waves of inspections that are going to be needing to happen by people like you who are coming in and setting the bar higher.
right.
And you've had amazing success in a city that would be considered a small to medium sized town. Is
For
that fair?
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, our city, it's old school. We're Midwest. I mean, if you were to throw, I mean, we're not right in the middle of America, but we're close. I mean, we are, things on the East Coast and West Coast slowly come our way,
Right.
and we're always the last to respond on things. And my whole mindset is let's change the way people are thinking. I mean, detailed home inspections I think it should be the norm and not, hey, I looked at everything looks okay. And, I just, it appalls me. I mean, I follow Spectora on Facebook. I follow other groups, home inspectors helping home inspector help. And I see these other markets that are charging a lot more than we are, and it's just like, I think some of the old school guys, I mean, there's guys in our area still 275, and it's just like, how, I mean, you're hurting not only yourself, you're leaving money on the table, but the rest of the home inspectors you're putting out there. I mean, when they see 350, they're like, well, he's too expensive. Well, not really,
Right. Yeah.
So,
If you compare to someone that shouldn't even be there, of course, everything will seem
right,
expensive to that.
right.
I wonder if someday we could ever move towards a percent of the closing price, just like others in the transaction. I don't
Sure.
know how that would go. What do you think about that?
I've read some guys talking about that, and it did. Obviously, I thought about it, and I mean, I don't know if that. I don't know. I mean, because if you're talking a 0.25% or whatever of the actual set, that money gets up there pretty quick. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, do
Yeah.
I would love to talk about it with somebody, but I don't know. I don't know if it would ever. I don't know.
Be a hard
That's
thing to shift, like to
it
drastically
would. I
shift.
mean, because I don't to do the math on $100,000 house. I mean, 1% is $1,000. And so is it 0.5% of the total, and then you do a $3 million home, and it's like, well, I can take a couple months off.
Yeah. That's how
I'll take
realtors,
a
I mean,
couple months.
that's life as a realtor, right? I mean,
True,
yeah.
true,
So
yeah, yeah,
just a fascinating thing to consider and think about. Who knows? But yeah, I agree. It is a constant battle to have upward pressure on the services you guys offer, the value you provide. And we all need to kind of collectively remember that.
yeah,
And then I love that you're collaborative with the competition because that keeps coming up on the pod. High vibe people that are doing well, they want to bring people together and learn together and collaborate.
yeah. I
And
do.
where'd that mentality come from for you?
I may be managing others for so long. I just I I stand by. I read a book one time, and it was called The Ideal Team Player, and I think it's Patrick Linsoni, or I don't remember his
Mhm.
name, but he talks about one the mindset that I keep is he talks about three virtues, and it's being humble, being hungry, and being smart. And it's not necessarily book smart. It's more your choices, who you decide to relate with, and I'm always as humble as I can be. I don't know everything, and I don't act like I do. I think that when you portray that, people they attract to that, because you're not the cocky guy that's out there saying you're the best and you've been doing this 40 years. And I think we all, I'm attracted to that when somebody's just humble. Hungry, I believe, you know, that there's never a day off. I mean, this. We might shut it down for the day, but we eat, breathe, and sleep this job. I mean, when you're a sole entrepreneur, or you're Kevin Wagstaff, you don't get a time off. You just don't. And whether it's being hungry, going out making calls, or learning. where can I learn more? I went through the 2 years, it was like, how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? So I went through EDI level 1 and level 2. I got NADRA certified on decks and railings. There's I'm working on ICC right now. How do you become? There've been a lot of people that said, you're so detailed. Will you do a pre-drywall? Can you do a pre-drywall? And I've told so many people no, because that's a code inspection. I mean, to the T. And I feel, me personally, my humble opinion, I feel you need to be certified with building, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical through ICC before I would personally feel comfortable going
Sure.
out and looking at framing for sure. So, I got framer friends that I've gotten together with. I've gotten, I feel surrounding yourself with people smarter than you is something that I've always just thought was, I got a meeting tomorrow with, I started doing sewer cam inspections about 6 months ago.
Oh, nice.
I did, I was already there, and my mindset was like, the guy that was doing it, great guy, great local guy, just did it for me for a year and a half. But I kept, he's in and out in 30, and he's charging X. And it's like, is this something that you can learn? So of course I packed up and I went to Boulder, and I took Internacci's Mike, gosh, he's gonna kill me. I can't remember his last name right now, but he does an Internacci sewer
Yeah.
certification.
Yeah.
And so I came back and practice, but I'm rambling now. I can't even remember where I was going. But the tomorrow I have a meeting with a drain and sewer guy. I
Mhm.
want to know if he's good. I mean, if I
Sure.
find problems, can you fix them? And I'm taking him to lunch. And I just, again, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that know
Love
more
that.
than you, that you can call an electrician, hey, I'm at so and so. Can I shoot you a screenshot? Can you help me out? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say absolutely. And you do, I
Yeah.
mean, I do that all the time. And I've got coaches and mentors around the country.
And it takes humility to ask an expert what they think.
It does.
And and that's why I love the personal growth feeds the business, and your business can only grow as much as you're growing personally, because I think the home inspectors that peacock, as one inspector put it, it's from insecurity. It's like trying to show that you're everything to someone, as opposed to sometimes saying, hey, I got a Rolodex full of experts. Let me tap my network and find out, because that value gets attributed to you if you have the network.
For sure. And man, I live and die by that. And I don't tell a customer, I don't ever lie and say, well, it's XYZ. And, I tell them I don't know. And I think it's okay to tell them that. Look, but I'll get you an answer, but I need to do a little bit of research on it. Can I get back with you? And I think that's acceptable by all human beings. I mean, they're trying for sure, man.
So you said you've been doing sewer scope for a couple months now?
Yeah. I mean, again, I released myself after I felt comfortable, a little more
Mhm.
comfortable. And so it's been, I don't know how many I've done, maybe 30, we'll say
Okay.
30. I With my sales back, I mean, I upsell that. If it's not picked on when somebody goes online, everybody, and I'll say this again, maybe somebody will learn something, but I don't schedule any inspections. If you call me or text me, I make you go to my website for SEO. Period. End of story. I don't care if you're the number one realtor in town. You're going to my website. And through Spectora and how everything's laid out, it'll allow you to pick, additional add-ons or however you want to word it. And if they don't, within, I think I said it at 3 hours, if, a sewer's not picked, it just automatic email and text go out and say, hey, I do have advanced. I will say I do have advanced. And it'll give them a quick little, hey, whether it's a new build or, a 50-year-old home, it's always peace of mind to know what the sewer's like, your sewer line.
Huge.
And I bet you I do 20 a month, 25 a month on
Beautiful.
that. And so, it was an extra. If I was to look at it, Kevin, I'm down 5 inspections from last year total. If I look at my dashboard,
Uh-huh.
but I'm up 28% in money. Because
Wow.
because I try to I don't just leave it at, oh, they just want a home inspection, man. Can we do radon? Can we do termite? Can we do mold? You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
I just, you're already there. You're already
It,
there. And I did
I'm,
mold. I went through mold. IC, what am IAT, what, I don't even
yeah.
remember the name of
Yeah.
it,
Say
but
I can never
whatever
remember.
Internachis is, I went through all that, and now I can, do air quality tests, and you're certified through that. And guys, I mean, whoever's watching this, that thing takes, I mean, it takes 45 minutes at most to do an air test, and
Um,
it's just little things, man,
I
little
love
things.
this. I love this. I love this so much because I think of business efficiency as you're growing and scaling. And if we are in somewhat of a lower market, obviously we are compared to last year and the year before, but like
Yeah.
if and when things tick up even a little, you're going to see a magnifier effect on that revenue because that's an insane case study of do the same
Yeah.
amount of inspections but make 30% more.
Yeah. I mean, it went from in 2022, $550 per inspection, and I'm at 675 today, as of today. So, I mean, that helps. I mean, that helps you as a home inspector. You know, I feel it does. And my ultimate goal, Kevin, and this is going to sound crazy, but if I had a perfect world, I would do one inspection a day. That's it. I would do one in the morning. Um, I would do it detailed as I could. I'd be done by 2, and I would live my life from, 2 to 5, how I wanted to, and then family time. I'll never do 3 in a day. I mean, my minimum time at a house is 3 hours. And yes, I'm slow and I over evaluate things, but my max is 2 at this point, but I'd love to do one. I mean,
And if you're getting up near 700, 800, Ben
yeah,
Gramico used to tout the 1,000, it's like
yeah.
it's a damn good living and a
That's a
damn good
good
life.
live. And it's a work-life balance to where,
Yeah.
and that's the ultimate goal. I'm not quite there yet. I love money like anybody else. I want as much fucking much, sorry. I want as much money as
Yes.
possible. I'm not being that guy, but I also, the older I get, the less I care about how big my house is, or I just, things change in life. And for your time is, you can't put a dollar on it, to spend time with your kids or your wife or coming home. I mean, there's times still today where, you get 2 19 20 homes, and you come home and you're writing reports till 9 o'clock at night. And that's not fair to your children. I mean, in my eyes.
Yeah. I love the numbers. Thank you for sharing those because the
Yeah,
the pushback we always hear is, "Oh, Kevin, you don't get it. I'm in a small town. It's not possible to get to 5 or 600 average ticket price." And it's like it is, and it takes diligence. It takes the
yeah,
add-ons. It takes educating yourself and confidence.
for sure. The only thing that I don't do, and I subcontract out, is my radon. And I made that choice, not because I didn't want to learn more about radon, but is the drive time, picking up. And so I got a local guy. I won't give you numbers, but I got a local guy that he does it all for me. I mean, with Spectora,
Mhm.
as soon as I confirm, an email goes out to him stating when, where, when it needs, when so I don't have to pick up a phone, and he drops it off and picks it up, and I make a good chunk of change off of it just by scheduling it, to be honest.
I I really like this because I've never heard it framed this way of the inefficiencies that radon can be because it does cause some logistical headaches for some businesses. I know some are like Kevin, like we're driving around, we're keeping track of monitors. I I mean, this makes a strong case for like
Yeah.
just
It, I
get the
it,
referral fee and outsource it,
Yeah, and it was a business decision. I looked at gas. Of course, gas was crazy at the time that I started,
right?
but I looked. What I did was, I've done $15,000 worth of radon testing this year, and I haven't had to drive to one of those. And so it was my business decision. It was like, look, you do the driving, you do the picking up, you send me the report, and all I do is attach it, and I make a little bit of money off that. I mean, I don't want to give a number out, but it's worth it to me to have radon.
Sure.
Uh, and I've thought about it, but it's still, I feel comfortable the way things are with radon.
I like that. And it's not as if you versus another guy setting the device matters
Right.
necessarily. It gets done on under your watch, which I think is the important thing. It's like you are a one-stop shop still.
Yeah.
So I think some inspectors do get the mentality is I have to do everything and they run themselves into the ground. I love how you thought about the efficiency of it. And you're like, you know what? I can
Yeah.
outsource this one. I really
Yeah.
like
I did. And what's good about it with Spectora, and I love Spectora is the only software I've ever been with. And quite frankly, I don't want to go anywhere. This is my home. This is what I enjoy. I mean, you guys have done my website. I've got, I don't think there's anything but possibly the new mass email that I haven't stepped up to yet. But as soon as he gets the email, it's all on him. He calls the realtor. He sets up with showing time or Supra. He accesses the property. He doesn't call me. Only thing I really, I'll see him from time to time, but it's seamless. I mean, it is absolutely seamless. And I have the reports before the end of this. It's the,
how did you find that guy? Just searching lunches, like, or just
I,
getting it?
I called so when I was with Thrasher, one of my salesmen at the time, he left and he went to another foundation company. And when I decided to do this, I always look for the best. Like, who can I give my name if there's a, let's settlement of a home, who can I trust to go in and say it's minor, let's watch it? Or, every foundation guy wants to sell you, period. I mean, I taught how to do that. It was urgent, it's going to fall, we got to fix it today.
Yeah.
But I had a lunch with him and they were doing mitigation at the time, radon mitigation. And so I worked out numbers with them. I proposed what my thoughts were. They accepted. Well, to make a long story short, they weren't making any money on mitigation. There was other guys in the area that were coming in at $400 or $500 for a full mitigation. And they're like, we can't compete, we're out. So that gentleman, I called him that was doing that. I called him on the side and I said, would you be interested in doing this part-time? Like, I'm not taking you from your business. And he thought about it and he got back with me and said, I will do that. So he bought 12 monitors or radon monitors. And I'm the only one at this point that he does it for. He wants to grow it at some point, but he's very busy. And when he did it over, I upped it $25 per inspection that he would do because I knew it was him and him only. And I, of course, upped mine. That's instead of paying 125, I upped it to 150.
Yeah.
And he does all, I will admit, he does most of the work on the radon.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the source. You're the source of the business, though. And I think home inspectors should lean into that more, I think, in the future.
I sent him about, let's say 20 a month. 20.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And he's happy as can be. I'm happy. So I'm leaving it the way it is.
Sounds like a great relationship and he's reliable. It's like good vetting.
Yeah.
I think inspectors sometimes blanket just worry about things they can control with just good vetting and good people skills and just kind of trusting your gut.
Yeah.
On who to trust.
It's crazy you say that because one of my mentors in town that I did probably 30 of the ride with, I asked him, I said, is radon something that you would, release? And he said, I enjoy taking off a Friday afternoon and running radon. And I said, perfect. If he runs it and he drops Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off and whatnot. And I said, okay. I said, but logistically, listen to what I'm saying. Let's pretend you had 5 the next week. So at 125, you're making $625, right? Let's say, but you're taking off an afternoon where you could have put 500 in your pocket for doing an extra inspection. You're driving all over God's green earth to pick these things up and drop them off. I said, in reality, if you did another inspection on Friday afternoon, you would make more money per week if you just basically said, I'm done with radon, I want this guy to do it.
Right.
And if you put numbers together. Yeah. So that's what I chose. And I do 10, I try to schedule 10 a week. If there's weeks I only want to do 5, and I'll schedule those. So
Love the math. Love the simple math.
yeah.
So what are you expecting kind of in the back half of this year? We're like just past the midway point. It's kind of anyone's guess how the markets will react and how your local market will react. But yeah, how are you approaching it? Is it business as usual? Are you getting more aggressive with outreach and keeping in touch with agents? Are you bursting at the seams, ready to hire? Like,
Well, man, all that really. I
depends on the
have
week.
thought of, I have thought about hiring, and I always talk myself out of it. I think I'm scared a little bit. You know, I have a devil on my shoulder saying, well, what are you going to do through the winter? Because if I hire somebody, I want them to be here forever. I want to pay them right. I want to treat them right. I don't want them to say I'm leaving in 2 years and I'm opening up my own. I want it to be a career. And, you know, I'm not quite there yet. And some of the things that go through my mind, I just told you I only wanted to do one a day. Well, if that happens, it's totally I mean, it's one a day and it's just me. And if I make 800 a day, and I hate talking about money, but I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with just worrying about me and making
Great life.
$4,000 a week. And, um, sitting down and talking to my wife at dinners and whatnot, we half the country saying, look out, we're getting ready to hit this big bump. The other half saying everything's great. She has a very positive attitude about the future, and she thinks it probably will turn back in. I do too, possibly turn back into a buyer's market. I
Mhm.
mean, we're slowly starting to see to where, instead of on a repair request, instead of saying don't ever send me that, I'm not doing anything. Their sellers are happening to do some things right
Right.
now.
They may actually give you a credit for something.
Right, right. I look forward to the future. I really do. I think sky's the limit. I don't think real estate's going anywhere. I think that there's a lot of old school people, whether it's agents or there's a lot of new blood coming in, and they think different than we do. Um, they want to have their hand held in a way. They want you to show empathy. They want you to show that you care. And I think the inspectors that understand that, old school guys, just tell me how it is and leave me alone. That's new school. They want to understand why. They want to know what the reasoning is. And I think that's key with this young generation. And I hit on the I mean, when I see a new inspector, that's who I'm making a call to, because that's the future, or sorry, new realtor.
Yeah.
That's the future. And that could be the next, we've got a couple that do 80, 90 million a year here in our town, realtors. That could be the next in 10 years. And that could be, you're in, if you will. So there's all kinds of things that run through my head, Kevin. During the summer here, I've already planned on cutting back a little bit on inspections. I mean, it's 105 outside, and 50%, 70% humidity, and I'm fat and out of shape. And it's like, dude, I mean, I did an inspection last week, and in the attic it was 178 degrees. And
Oh
it's just
my.
it I don't know how. I mean, I got out of there and I was just soaking wet. And
Ooh,
yes, I'm fat and I need to lose weight.
ooh.
But it was still like, how in the
Extreme.
hell do you do this twice a day, you know?
Yeah, that's extreme.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Well, cool, man. I've loved this story. I have so many notes here that I'm gonna package up and kind of where can people get a hold of you if they do want to chat or network? Because you mentioned the relationships with mentors, with Casey. Like, I think that's a special thing in our industry, and it
I
can
do too.
help the loneliness, help kind of bounce ideas off people and
Yeah.
build friendships, honestly, long term.
It is. And, even at our local meetings, like I said, we've only had like 3 or 4.
Mhm.
But people, I think, feel it. You learn some. I mean, I had a, if you can, in between a foundation guy and a structural engineer, I have a guy that I met years ago, and he's been doing it 30 years, and he charges $250 for a foundation inspection. That's it. He doesn't look at anything else, but the guy knows what he's talking about.
Mhm.
So I give his name out a lot. Hey, if you're not worried about spending, because a foundation inspection, and how I tell every client, every one of them, I don't care what foundation company you have come in here, they're going to want to sell you something. It doesn't matter if the crack is a 16th of an inch, they're going to say it's failing and you need to get it fixed. And I say on the flip side, you can have a structural engineer in, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to say it's okay and you should just monitor it. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
And yeah,
But for $250, you can have this guy come in and he gives you an honest opinion, and he doesn't sell shit. He doesn't have beams. He doesn't have earth anchors and all that. I had him in to talk, and people learned a lot. And afterwards, there were many emails that came through and just said, thank you. I mean, we're learning something. And I feel elevating the way home inspectors think helps the whole industry. I mean, if you're out there just crossing things off that everything's okay, you're putting a bad name on us. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You elevate yourself, know that this isn't right, know that that isn't right. And by God, it'll take me forever, and I'll never know it all. I mean, I don't think you can.
yeah,
But surrounding yourself, there's times where I call Casey, where I call a local guy and I say, look, man, I'm stumped. And at least there's things put on the table that I can digest. Okay, well, that might be okay, or and we might need to have somebody look at that. I mean, I've rode with roofers. I've done whole days with framers. I've rode with HVAC people. There's not a ride with that I haven't done on my own. I just took a day off and I called and said, can I ride with you? And I just learn about the industry. I've rode with, let's replace a toilet. Let's change out a water heater. Cause Kevin, man, I didn't know shit. I didn't know one thing about homes or home inspections other than foundations. I was a little bit ahead of the game.
sure.
That was
Hugely
it.
inspiring, hugely inspiring for people
Well, I
out there.
appreciate it. Yeah. And anybody, I mean, my phone number, if you Googled Profound Home Inspections in Kansas, I'm sure it would pop up. And I list my phone, my email. I love helping when I can. I think that's my passion in life. My whole mindset is just like, wherever you can help somebody, be remembered when you leave this earth, and hopefully in a positive way. And back in my drinking days, and I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but all I really gave a shit about, I was selfish. It was just about me. And as soon as I hung that thing up, and it was all about how can you help somebody, and God above, the power above, however you believe in, has blessed me. And my parents passed when I was young. My dad passed when I was 8. My mom passed when I was 15. And ever since about 15 is when I started drinking. And it escalated the older I got. And when I put it down, my mind opened up, and it was like, how can you be remembered on this earth? And it's like, the one thing we all have is empathy, and we can open up our arms and give somebody a hug, or whatever it is. And if I can help a home inspector get over a hump, I'm game. I don't care if they live next door to me. I mean, there's enough business around. That's how I feel,
Yeah,
and I love helping. So
it's refreshing, and I
yeah.
appreciate you and commend you. Thank you for sharing the story, because that to me impacts people. You've probably already helped someone, just getting done listening to this, in terms of how to just navigate this business and world, and very high correlation with success in your mentality. And so I'm energized from it. I'm pumped up. I can't wait to get this out there. So thank you.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate you. And I was surprised when you reached out, and I was happy and I was excited, and I guess I sat here and thought, well, don't fuck this up. I mean, don't, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, people are going to be watching this, and it's just like, then I sat here this morning having a cup of coffee, and it's like, just be yourself. That's all you got to do, is just be yourself, man.
Can't mess up when you're yourself, and you did.
No,
So it's
yeah,
a lot of wisdom and nuggets in here. So
for
thank
sure.
you for bringing it. Appreciate the authenticity, my brother. Continued success is going to happen for you. I know it, but we'll be staying in close touch.
Please, man. And you guys keep rocking it. Again, shout out to Rodaline. You're a whole Spectora web team, but for whatever reason, I asked specifically from Casey, said, ask for Rodaline. And man, she's awesome. And the whole team, the way that you guys response time, and you listen to people, your YouTube channel where you explain things, you've sat down and explained things. I mean, I've read some of the stuff on Facebook and I take a little, a giggle from time to time. It's just like to understand a business background. I mean, it's not just three people, there's so much more to your back end shit than people understand. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot.
It's a lot. And
How did you do this real quick? I mean, how did Kevin and his brother, were you at home inspector? I mean, I don't know. I'm sure this has been asked and I'm a newbie, but I mean, how did you do this? Why? I mean,
yeah. So I was a realtor once upon a time for
okay.
And then Mike and I had a friend whose dad was a home inspector. That friend told us, hey guys, my dad's software is really bad. I think this is an industry we could make a difference in. It's small enough. We could innovate with good tech.
Wow.
And Mike and I brought our powers together. He and friend ended up bowing out. So as he and I left with kind of this idea, and we just started talking to home inspectors. I smile when you were talking about taking people to lunch so you can learn. I just offered coffee to every home inspector that would answer me. It said, tell me about your life, your day. What do you hate about your software? What would you change if you had a magic wand? Like, and just learned and just did the grind for like a year of just interviews, educating ourselves, and then started building. And that's why I think our story is so relatable to home inspectors is we were basically knocking on doors digitally for, a year of just, hey, you want to check out software? How can we help? How can we eliminate pain in your day? And how do we add value? How do we teach you something about SEO? Like, it was truly the way you guys sell. We were doing the same thing of just saying, like, how can we add value and be helpful, and good things will happen long term, and just kind of had to have that belief.
I love it. I mean, it's the only one I've ever been with. And of course, right out of the gate, I did my research and Horizon I mean, I looked digitally and I think I ran across, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it now, but a couple that I did fake inspections, mock inspections with, and then of course yours. And when you're starting out, it's like, man, $100 a month. Excuse me if I'm talking wrong here, but it was just like, can I afford this? Can I do this? And it's all about from your tools to your software. I mean, it's all you have to be the best. You got to have the best, in my opinion. And Spectora, I don't think there's anybody that holds a candle to it. To be honest with you, I mean, that's my personal opinion, and the automate for a sole proprietor to have advanced send. I mean, I don't have to be in front of my computer, my phone, nothing. Business is running. Do I have to make callbacks? Oh, well, of course I do. But it's just seamless, man. I love it. I appreciate it for sure.
Oh man, appreciate you saying that. Hopefully, we just wanted to help people and help grow their businesses and realize their dreams. That's what good software should do. So
I love it, man. I love it. All right.
Well, all right, brother.
I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate the time, man. I had a blast.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.